In this video, I will be talking about this MIDI pad controller right here, the Synido Tempopad Z1. Now, at first glance, this looks like a pretty standard MIDI pad controller. But despite having most of the standard MIDI pad controller functionality that you would expect from a device like this, it also has a few unique features as well, including one that will make you never want to travel with a normal MIDI keyboard again. And I'll explain why in just a minute. So in this video, I'm going to go over a few of the unique features of this device, as well as a very quick explanation for beginners as to what a MIDI pad device is. And just a quick disclaimer, this device was sent to me for free by the people at Synido, but I've been not paid to make this video and I've not been told what to do, and they will also not see the video before I post it. First off, before we dive into the specifics of this particular controller, let me just explain quickly to those of you who might not know exactly what a MIDI pad controller is. A pad controller has the same functionality as a regular MIDI keyboard. That is to control music making software, synths, groove boxes, and so on. But instead of having piano keys, a pad controller has little pads, hence the name. And if you stick around to the end, I'll give you a more detailed explanation of the difference between MIDI keyboards with piano keys and pad controllers, and also the pros and cons of each one. So most notably, pad controllers are often used for finger drumming because they have faster action in the pads and they're also a little bit more customizable. And since all the pads have the same size, they will also trigger in the same way. And if you're finger drumming using a piano keyboard, triggering drums using the black and white keys can be a little bit awkward. It's not impossible, but if you're new to keys or you don't have great piano skills, it can feel a little awkward. These pads don't have to be used for drums. They can also be used to trigger samples and slices, and you can play any type of virtual instrument as well. So what makes the Tempopad Z1 different? Well, the Tempopad Z1 has a lot of standard features, but it also has a few unique features. But one quick note that might be useful to know is that this isn't made for one specific DAW. So it doesn't have any very DAW-specific functionality like some other pad controllers do. So let's look at some of the main features. Drum mode is the most self-explanatory one, and it sort of creates 4 grids here, 4x4, and they're stacked in 2 columns. And by default, this lines up perfectly with how most drum kits and drum racks are set up in most DAWs. So as you can see here, I've loaded up this 64 sample drum rack in Ableton. And we can see it perfectly lines up according to the drum rack. So it goes all the way. And there's nothing better than plug and play compatibility, right? Okay, so let's just lay down a quick beat. So as you can see, that was pretty easy. Next, we have the key mode. We access that by simply pressing key. And this is kind of my favorite mode, and it makes up for one of the main features that most other pad controllers have that this one doesn't have, which is scale mode. However, what's cool about the key mode is that you basically get 4 piano keyboards stacked on top of each other. So you got 4 octaves right here. And then you have 1 row of white keys for each octave. Then each C is labeled in purple. And then above the white keys, just like a keyboard, you have the black keys. So you can play chromatically. Just like you would on a regular keyboard. So that means that this can basically replace a regular MIDI keyboard. And I'm not saying that you probably don't need a keyboard in your music production setup, but this can be a good replacement, for example, when you're traveling, that you don't need a clunky keyboard. You can just have this one that is slim, fits in your luggage easily, and it has both the keyboard mode and the drum mode. So you got a big range just here at your fingertips, and you can also create big open chord voicings over 4 octaves, which is hard to do on a regular small MIDI keyboard that only goes over 2 octaves most of the time, especially the portable ones. Okay, so let's lay down some chords as well. Slow it down because I'm not a great player. And then we can lay down a little melody or lick or riff or whatever you want to call it on top of that. Got a nice little chiptune-y thing right there. And just a quick thing I forgot to mention is that you can use this transpose key right here to change the root note so that you actually in effect get a scale mode. So for example, if you put the root note to E, you'll get an E major scale and you don't have to mess around with any of the black keys. Cool, so now let's move on to the custom mode. So custom mode is a very powerful mode, but it does require some configuration and setup in order to use. But the beauty of it is that you can set up your device exactly how you want it. So the Synido comes with a software that you can use to set up your device. And it looks like this. And to be honest, it's a little buggy and it requires you to set your screen settings to a certain way in order for it to be displayed properly on your computer. But once you get that right, it looks like this. By default, it's set up like the drum mode. It's chromatic. Everything is in one color, but it has the same 2 columns. So now I just want to set it up in a different way so that you can kind of see what you can do here. One of the things that makes it powerful is that you can assign each pad to a different MIDI channel. So for example, if we start here, you have the pad 1, and you can do things in batches. So you can do, for example, start with pad number 1, end with pad number 16, and you can set those to MIDI channel 1, go with ascending, have off color. If we get say we want this to be a drum pad, we make the drum pad blue when it's off, make purple when it's being pressed, like that. And then we can do apply note, send to hardware. So now we have this little chromatic drum pad right here. And now say we want to set up a little keyboard, then we might have to go here and do each one separately, but we'll do this on a different channel, different MIDI channel. We'll go MIDI channel 2. So now I have an Ableton set up right here, 4 different tracks. And then the blue section right here controls a drum rack. Purple controls some slices. The yellow keyboard controls 1 synth. And then the red scale here controls another track. So that allows you to have a very powerful performance setting where you can record things on the fly. You know, which might be cool in a live looping setting or something like that. Okay, next let us look at the user mode. Now, a user mode is kind of a weird one because this mode is basically just for controlling the lights on the Synido Tempopad. And I think it's basically just meant for like creating visuals in a performance setting, which isn't something that I really have a big use for, but I did go ahead and like set up a little animation, so to speak. And you can see here in Ableton, I've created this little MIDI track, and it's very easy to set up. Basically, you just go into user mode and then just have to send MIDI to MIDI channel 3. If you go here, set this to channel 3. And if I press play now in Ableton Live, you'll see this little dancing animation on the Tempopad. So that's basically it. I can also trigger it with a different MIDI controller. I have an Arturia Mini Lab here off screen. So When I play Minilab, you can see it pops up here. So I don't find that very useful because I don't need this for anything, but I do know some people like that, and I've seen videos of people who they set up these like elaborate light shows on their MIDI controllers. So if that's something that you will find useful, then you can have a ton of fun with setting up different animations here. Okay, last mode I'm going to talk about is easy mode, and the purpose of this is to basically let you use the Synido software as a DAW. So basically you can add samples into the Synido software, and then you can slice it and edit it and assign it to various pads. And then you can play them with the Z1 directly into the Tempopad editor. It also has some features where you can draw lights and things like that. That's not a feature that I find very useful, to be honest. And I haven't found any features in the easy mode that Ableton Live or any DAW really can't do better. But this might be useful for beginners who haven't invested in a DAW yet. Maybe someone who got the Tempopad as a gift. And it might be a good way to kind of dip your toes into the sampling world, or in DAWs or music production or things like that. Okay, so that was the modes. Now let's take a quick look at the hardware and the build quality. Now, the build quality is actually really good, and especially for a budget controller. It's very sturdy, it has a nice weight and feel, and I do really like it. When it comes to ins and outs, it has the standard USB-C for MIDI in and outs, which is the only input a lot of these pad controllers like this have. But in addition to that, the Z1 also has an additional USB-C for power only, as well as a 3.5 MIDI TRS out. So why would you need a designated USB-C power input? Well, this is useful if you want to control a specific device like a synth or a groove box that doesn't provide power via USB-C. So there are quite a few devices that don't supply power. So then basically you can just hook it up and then hook up the DC 5-volt power supply to any power bank or cable that you have connected to power key. I really also like that it has a designated MIDI TRS output, because then you can just easily hook it up to any device that doesn't have MIDI via USB. And it also comes with a few nice things, like it comes with a sturdy USB-C to USB-A cable. It has a nice case. It comes with a MIDI adapter. And I'm always a big fan of companies who provide you all the accessories you need. And I think it adds value to the customer, that you don't have to go out and purchase the accessories you need, and you just have them straight away. So to sum up, what is this device and who is it for? So this is a very versatile MIDI pad controller that works with most devices, apps, DAWs, synths straight out of the box. It isn't made specifically for one particular DAW, so it does work well with all of them. But if you're looking for a device that's made for a specific DAW, that has specific DAW functionality, then this one might not be the one for you. Now, this device is definitely great for beginners and people that use their mobile devices or tablets for music production, and also for people that travel a lot. I find the keys feature to be extremely useful, and if you take the time to set up the custom mode in a way that works for you, you also have an extremely powerful performance device right here. And it's also pretty cheap. It's only $149, and with that comes all the accessories you need. So you get a lot of bang for your buck with this device. But if you're still not sure if you need a keyboard or a pad controller, I have some very good tips for you in this video right here.